This is MidtownRich with a race recap from Heppner, Oregon. Last weekend, Marrow County OHV area. Quite an event. It was dusty and it was rocky and it was tight. Excellent weather conditions, 85 degrees, clear skies, and nothing to complain about for the West Coast National Hare Scramble Series round number 4. Yours truly with some drone activities out here in Heppner. So I want to mention some things so that I can put them in this vlog and remember in the future if I ever go back to Heppner and race, how to get set up and some of the things that I may have forgotten otherwise. I can talk about some race strategy, race execution, little performance review. So let's get into the gritty. Marrow County is just a beautiful spot. Thought I'd bring the drone and give it a little flight here. A little backstory about the drone, just super quick. It is a FPV drone. It's not made for flying around and taking cinematic pictures, but that's just what I'm doing with it. I'd much rather be flying through the trees. You're not going to catch me doing that during an event. I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to keep it out of the way. Just FYI, I got a FAA drone license, and I'm going to make sure I mind my P's and Q's. The event, just a spot. I mean, can you believe it? Look at the campground up there, and just wide open spots. The place reminds me of a golf course. I mean, I think all golf courses should be motocross tracks, and this kind of is just like God's version of a golf course. And so it's just fun to fly around out there and get a look at things, see how dusty it really is, you know. And a lot of these places on the course you'll recognize. You'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that spot. Because after I did 5 laps, a lot of people did 6. You start to remember each individual rock even. And you'll notice here this is the first race, the first short course. The trail is not that dusty, and it's actually pretty smooth. Like compared to the end of the day, it is very smooth and very nice and very raceable. Like this double track road that we're looking at right now, it got gnarly later, like silty, nasty, gnarly. So it is really fun to watch this because you can actually see people and watch their moves and watch them choose their lines and watch them bump into each other. And you'll notice at this intersection here, there's just kind of all kinds of things going on. It's a steep off camber. It's challenging, I think, for most of us. The biggest challenges were tip overs, really. The high speed stuff a lot of times was so dusty you couldn't go screaming fast, and I spent a lot of energy picking the bike up from just these simple tip overs, mostly because I was set up for high speed stuff and not low speed stuff. So let's talk about setup really quick. I ran 14.5 psi in both tires. In the future I would run nitro mousses for sure, or some sort of mousse. I ran all-terrain tire. Well, I guess the soft was a MX33. The soft worked good when I got into that silt on the sides of the trails. I felt like it dug in and it saved me a couple of times. I didn't feel like I was giving up that much performance in the rocks to a harder terrain tire. On the back, I tried a relatively new Kenda Washougal 2. That's a dual compound. The softer compound kind of wore more than I expected. Definitely more than a Dunlop AT81. It held up though. It did fine. I like that tire because it's so light. It's narrow for my 250F, and it's easy to mount, and it's cheap. So those are definitely some pluses. I will give it probably 7 out of 10. Give the front tire 7 out of 10 in Heppner. the first thing I did in the race is take a couple of turns, pull over, and back off of compression a little bit. And I really should have taken the time to just do the rebound too, because I was a fish out of water. My setup was just way off. And also I didn't. I had my forks set up way too low on the triple clamps. I should have had them raised up to turn easier. So lessons learned there. Bike worked flawless. The thing that I want to remember is that I used literally 1.2 gallons of gas somehow. I finished 2 hours 37 minutes with, it looks like at least a gallon, and I'm going to measure it to be absolutely sure, but it looks like I have more than a gallon of gas left somehow. Okay, what else? We got to stop saying that's going to annoy myself to no end. The race strategy was because I was starting on the last row with the super senior A's and B's, I was going to and it's my first race and I just want to complete the race. Part of the way to prove that to myself is to not race and let those guys go, sit there for a couple of minutes and let the dust settle, and then just completely focus on technique. That worked to some extent. I almost crashed in the first turn by myself. It was just so foreign, that those marbly terrain. So couple quick tip overs, and I apparently knocked the innards out of my Camelback valve somehow, and then my Camelback wouldn't give me any water even though it was completely full, which is really frustrating. So I ended up having to bite the hose to get any water out of the Camelback. So that was miserable. The race strategy kind of failed because I caught people so fast in the back, and I had to slow down a bunch to deal with the dust. And I was so it didn't really help me, that strategy. And I don't know if I would do it again. I think what I would do again is try and get a good start, and then if the dust were too bad, then just pull over and let them go. That would work. And then the other thing I should have done is walked way further up the course and realized that it wasn't going to be that dusty, and then to just dice it for those couple of questionable turns to get into the less dusty environment, which if you would have looked at it, you would have known it was just going to be a single file freight chain. And basically the only way anybody's going to pass is somebody making a mistake. So I will consider that in the future. And what else should I address here? Performance issues, none with the bike. I feel like I hydrated pretty well. I feel like I had good energy reserves. I would have done okay if I had some water. I'm going to always have pit water, extra water now at the pit, that's for sure. And I just love being at the races. I love the people at the races. I love the challenge. That's why I did this video. I've never done an iMovie before. I figured it would be a good challenge. I like how other people are sharing and doing this. So give me a shout at the races when you see me. And for now, from the cave, I am over and out.